Hey YouTube, it's me Bianca and I am back. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys like a quick rundown of my first, I guess, 2 weeks while I'm in COT. As you guys know, just a quick background. I graduated nursing school in May. I took the NCLEX in May, and now I'm here at Commissioned Officer Training School for the Air Force, which is in Alabama. So week one, when I came here, I was not motivated to be here. As you guys can see from all of my YouTubes from 6 years ago, I always have been like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'm not gonna say I've always been like excited to do like training, but I think I came in just like not motivated. Like I was not motivated to be here. So got my orders about 10 days prior to my report date to COT. So for all my non-military people out there, when you get your orders, that's when the military says, hey, you have official papers, you can get out your lease, you can break like contracts, like whether it's a phone bill or security bill. So your orders is just, it makes it official, like you're officially leaving. These are military orders to report to Alabama. Well, my orders came 10 days late, and 10 days prior to coming. So TMO is basically like the military movers. Like, well, it's the military, they will pay movers to come to pack your stuff, whether it's dishes or clothes, whatever the case may be. Pack it up and then pack it and take it either to your next base, or in my case, my stuff is being stored in North Carolina, because I have to go to Texas and then Virginia. So my stuff is getting stored in North Carolina. But just trying to get TMO, everybody knows, if you do TMO, if you get your orders too late and you can't get TMO, that comes, usually it'll come out of your pocket, and then you keep your receipts and the military reimburse you. But me just being like by myself, single, it was a lot to try to pack that up. So I really needed, TMO to come, and by the grace of God, TMO, I was able to set up TMO, got my stuff moved. But it was very stressful, and then not really getting, right when it's time to come here, you have, oh well, you need this, you need this, you need this before COT, you need all this stuff. And it's just like, well, I've kind of been sitting idle since May. Yes, I've been traveling and trying to enjoy the rest of my, like, I guess freedom for it in a sense, but it's like all this stuff is coming down like last minute, and I got really like overwhelmed. So TMO came, so that was a plus. Also another stressor, so for all of my my prior enlisted, meaning you served time or you were enlisted prior to coming to COT, yeah, I just want to let you guys know that trying to, I guess they're gonna call it a break, you're gonna have like a day where you're not technically in the military. So for example, I gave you guys a video of my pinning ceremony. So when I pinned on my second lieutenant rank, I was still getting paid as a staff sergeant, but I was I was an active duty staff sergeant, but I was technically a reserve second lieutenant. So your first day of COT, so my first day of COT, I believe it was August, I don't know, 13th, something like that. That is the day I should have been getting officially paid as a second lieutenant. However, my pay has not transferred over yet, but just all of my NEC peers that are getting ready to go through this process, all I have to tell you is just to be patient, because it's gonna be rough. When you're coming from enlisted to officer, your record is gonna kind of be weird. So for all of my people that know about like out processing, so after you PCS from a base, or when you get ready to PCS to a base, so in my case I'm PCSing to Alabama, the base that you're at, they're gonna give you like a out processing checklist. So well, in my case, I was stationed at Pope Airfield, or Pope Air Force Base. However, in Fayetteville. However, I was living in Greensboro because that's where my school was at. So in order to out process, you have to either call them or go up there. Luckily for us, we were able to remotely do it, and they'll upload checklists into the system. But some of the stuff was just like, oh, you know, you need to turn in these badges and that badges. But when we haven't really been working there, was just attached by default. You know, that was like our base by default. So that made it kind of hard trying to out process and not really knowing, you know, what do you want us to drive an hour and a half every day to come and do this because we're not at the base. But luckily we didn't have to do that. And to find out, then we were supposed to be separating. So just say I commissioned I was supposed to leave. They give me 2 days. They gave me from Greensboro, North Carolina, 2 days to get to Alabama. So just say hypothetically, my last day as an active duty staff sergeant was on the 10th. And then the next day, the 11th, I'm commissioning. I'm officially should be getting paid as a second lieutenant. Well, to most like personnel centers, they probably don't see this often. So when I had to go in there and do my DD, I had to try to do a DD 214, which is your separation papers. Most people that do a DD 214, they're literally getting out of the military. Well, I'm not literally getting out. I just need this to stop my enlistment from staff sergeant. And then when I come to COT, they were supposed to work all that other stuff out. Well, it was complete confusion with that because the base was like, well, we don't really, you know, you're separating, so you have to do a separation checklist. So then they took that out processing checklist out and gave us a separation checklist. So it was just like, so now we have to do this all over again. And it's like, you know, some of the things were saying you need to get a separation physical. We're like, we don't need this stuff. Like, we don't need a separation physical. So yeah, that was prior to coming into COT. So we had to get all that stuff done. And honestly, only thing you need to do, as if you're coming from enlisted, all of my NEC peers, listen to me. All you need to do is go into the virtual and do the DD 214 worksheet. That worksheet will, and once you submit it to the, I believe it's whoever the people, you'll see it on there. You'll submit it, then that will trigger them to give you separation orders. You don't do anything after that. And then you also need to do a pre-separation worksheet, and it's right on the same page as the DD 214 worksheet. And that form will be the AF form 100. So DD 214 worksheet in the virtual NPF, and the pre-order separation worksheet, which would then turn into the Air Force Form 100. That's it. You only need to do that. All those out processing and going to the base, and you don't need to do that. You should, the guidance to get to this point was really, it was really rough, only because, like, you know, our ROTC unit, this is their first time having students like us, like, break, you know, active duty, but we're cadets, but we're really not cadets, but we're active duty. It confused everybody, and it wasn't their fault, but they tried their best to try to get us the correct information. But, you know, it was just really rough. So that's why I'm making this, you know, pre-COT video, so you guys can know DD 214 worksheet, pre-separation worksheet, and that should transfer over to the AF Form 100. You do that, you take those papers. When I came here, I didn't have a DD 214 that was generated into the system yet, so I just printed off my DD 214 worksheet and brought it here to COT. However, I'm still not getting paid O1E yet, but that's going to be another time. We'll talk about that in a second. But yes, do that, and after that, you should be fine. It was just very stressful, like not having much guidance and information, and knowing I'm supposed to come here, and you know, and I honestly just wasn't, like, my morale was just kind of like blah. Like, I don't want to go through training again. Like, once you go through basic training and you become operational Air Force, meaning I am just working and I'm in the operational Air Force. I'm doing my job. I'm doing what the Air Force needs me to do. I'm being a supervisor. You're not getting yelled at. You're not getting screamed at. But then all of us, and then I had 2 years of freedom in nursing school. So when I came here, it was just like a slap in the face. I'm like, huh, I'm back to being a student. I got to wear this camelback. I got to wear a reflective belt. I got to get yelled at, and everything you do that you try to be right at, you're wrong. And it's just like, I wasn't motivated to be here whatsoever. I was a negative Nancy. You know, my family knew. I was just like, yeah. And it was actually kind of scary. So those are my feelings before I came here. And then the first week was rough. It was very rough for me. I got to the point where I just wanted to go home. Like, and you guys know how hard I worked to get to this point. I mean, from 2 stripes with the degree enlisting all the way up to senior airman, staff sergeant. Now I'm commissioned and I work my butt off. But I just got to the point where I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do, I don't want to get yelled at every day. I don't want to go through this. Like, I just want to just go and be an Air Force nurse like I know I'm ready for. I don't want to learn how to march. Like, the first week is basically like learning how to, like, you're coming in with people that some people have never been in the military. Like my roommate, she's never been in the military. I mean, other than things that her recruiter have told her, as far as like, you know, making beds and rolling socks and drilling and left face, right face, about face, like that's all me. Like I know that, you know, but my morale started to change a little bit once I got closer to week 2, but that's going to be for another video because I don't want this one to be too long. So that was my pre-feelings about COT. Didn't want to be here, didn't want to do any of this. I just want to work. I just want to be a nurse. Like, let me just work. So watch the story as it transitions. So week 1's feelings. Like I said, you know, I wrote a little list because y'all know I like to ramble. I had a lack of motivation. Your first week, I don't know what day it is, but you're gonna do this blue line ceremony. It's when you walk out there with your flight or with your squadron and you have to basically cross over into the blue, and that's your commitment saying, you know, I want to be here. I want to complete COT. I want to do the best I can. And they say, you know, raise your hand if you don't want to be here. My hand almost would have, because like I said, my lack of motivation, and I don't really know how to explain it, and I don't want to sit here and be like a brat, like, oh yeah, you know she works so hard now. But when you're in these shoes, and there's a lot of people that's prior service that felt like this. I guess I'm just a little bit more vocal about it, or it shows more on my face. But when you're here, you've been out of the Air Force, so you know the real Air Force isn't yelling and screaming. Look, well, my job isn't yelling and screaming and making your bed with hospital corners. Like, so the feelings that I was having, it was just more so like unhappy. I didn't want to be here. Like, I was just like, why do I have to go here? So I didn't raise my hand at the blue line ceremony, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna walk with my flight across this blue line. We walked across the blue line, boom, it started. So I know some people told me, you know, COT is not gonna be bad, you know, it's just they will test your character here at COT. I'm not trying to be funny, I'm not trying to make anybody scared, but I really feel like, I know from my class, this is the last class that's going to be 5 weeks. They're now making COT into 8 weeks. So I personally think like they're trying to get more like strict and yelling. I don't know how it used to be, but this is not what people told me. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a cakewalk, but I just thought, you know, it was going to just be a little bit more lenient than this. No, I mean, yeah, right now, you know, the room situations, they give you more freedom, but no, there was yelling. Just some of the instructors, like, well, you know, when you're in training status, they're rude. They don't care what they say, you know, they're just rude. There wasn't nothing as far as like disrespectful or like anything where, you know, it was devaluing your character or anything, but it's just a lot of yelling and like marching, and you know, it's training. It's basically like, to me, I'm not gonna say it was like basic training, but in a sense it is like basic training. They definitely will test your character. Yeah, I've had a bad experience, 2 bad experiences since I've been here, and I still have about 2.5 weeks left. This is only week, I'm going into, what is it? I'm going into week 3, and it's a 5-week program, but I have about 17 more days left. And give you an example of when I had a very bad day. Bad day started when my flight leader decided that he had to do something that day, so he needed somebody to march the flight. No one really raised their hands, so I just turned around and I said, I'll do it, you know, because you guys seen my videos in the past. I was a ret rope, so I was like, I can do this. Now remember, I was a ret rope in 2013. It's now 2018, and they say if you don't use it, you lose it, and that's what happened. We lined up, and it's like they just smelled fresh meat. They just smelled that I was just out there, and they just yelling, and you know, I guess I didn't salute a captain, but like I said, I was more focusing on just getting my flight from point A to point B without getting destroyed in the process, and I still got destroyed in the process. I couldn't say the word. You have to say the statement. If you're taller than, with the exception of the guidon bearer and the element leaders, if you're taller than the airman in front of you, tap them on the shoulder and move forward. Well, I kept saying, if you're tall, with the exception of the guidon barrier and element leaders, and this MTI just, yeah, it's bear, not barrier, blah blah blah. And I was just so flustered. I kept saying barrier, barrier. He's like, are you trying to irritate me? Are you trying? I'm like, I'm getting like irritated. Like, no, I'm not. Obviously I can't say the word right now. Like, I guess I don't know what's going on. Then another person was like, and you're Brian, listen, you walked out here and didn't salute me. And I'm like, oh my God. So like, it was just horrible. I mean, they literally yelled and yelled, and I was able to march my flight from the academic building all the way to the DFAC, which is the dining facility, before I broke down. So I kept it together. But you guys have to remember, I came here with no motivation. I already want to go home. I'm just like, send me home. It's okay, whatever. But then, it kind of picked up like for 1 second. And then right when I'm like, I can do this, I can march the flight. I go march the flight and I get chewed out. 3 of them out there. Boom, boom, boom. In front of my flight. So I'm like, okay. Then I let them go. I marched them to defect. Everybody ate what they were going to eat. I got called to the side and they were like, what's going on? And I just broke down crying. Like, I didn't even cry in basic training. So I'm not saying that basic training was easier or harder. I think physically basic training is more demanding. Mentally, this place is a little bit more demanding, in my opinion. Like, I mean, basic training was mentally, a struggle. But when I say this place is more mentally a struggle, because when you've been through basic training and operational, and now you have to go back through training, mentally it can mess you up. You were a staff sergeant, and and some of these people were master sergeants, senior master sergeants, and they're going through training getting yelled at, and it's like, whoa, it's really like a mind thing. And so I broke down crying, and I just, they was like, well, what's going on? Did you learn anything? I'm just like, and then he tried to pull my 341 prior to me marching them, and I didn't have it on me when really I did. I was just so flustered that I didn't find it in my pocket. So if you guys can only imagine, like, I was just crying, like, my flight commander was out there, everybody's just looking at me, and my flight already went in. So I held it together when I marched them, but as far as like, I just broke down. And then I'm walking through the defect, you have to walk with your heels doing this every time you walk, with your tray like this, like basically, head straight forward. And I just put 2 shrimps on my plate, and I was just like, I went to the bathroom. I tried not to like let them go. But when you're so mad and angry and you're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, that was so unnecessary. Like, why are we even, I don't learn that way. Like, I don't learn by people yelling and screaming at me. But in a sense, when they yell and scream, I remember not to do it again. However, I just feel like there's a better way to correct somebody. But that's just me. That's why I'm not a military training instructor. I'm not saying I would never do it. I just feel like sometimes it can be too much, especially if you don't know if this person is having a bad day or not. I know they probably don't, I'm not gonna say don't care, but it's like, I was really having a bad, like, I didn't want to be there. I just got there like maybe 4 days ago, and I'm just like, and then it's like, boom. So another person pulled me to the side, and I was just, didn't want to be bothered. It was just a bad day. But my flight, ended up saying, we all felt for you. You were the only one that volunteered. So we all fell on the sword for you, meaning they all had my back. They felt like when I got attacked, they all got attacked, because technically no one volunteered. So I took that stance and did. But nonetheless, that was my bad experience of week 1. My flight members are pretty, for the most part, dealing with different personalities. Like, that's something that, I know I gotta get used to, but I haven't like been around. When I was in nursing school, I kind of dealt with whoever I wanted to deal with. I kept it, we were all a team, but at the same time, I can still do my own thing, you do your own thing. Here, you don't have that. You're all doing your thing together every time. Like the roommates, you have flight mates, you have people that, it's a lot. Different personalities, people wanted to lead, and some people may not be the best person for the job, or they may never have experienced power before, so they're just really doing this and like, this is my job, blah blah blah, whatever, for power and all that stuff. Like, people just, but we're growing as a team, we're doing team activities, so that's good. Alabama is hot, so yeah, hot. Like, I know I came from North Carolina, that's still technically South Carolina's South. You go outside, it's just sweat. Just sweat. You stand in the line and sweat just dripping in the eye. You have to say, sir, permission to adjust. and you adjust the sweat out your eye. Like it's just bad. So Alabama is hot, so just come prepared. Make sure you drink a lot of water, please, because it's really hot. Another thing that happened to me in week 2, because this is going to be my week 1 through 2 video. Week 2, basically, I failed my PT test. Yes, you guys, Bianca Wade has failed her PT test, and honestly, I don't even really like. I was still in that like, okay, well, you know, what you gonna do? Y'all gonna send me home or what? Like, I hate to say it like that, but I still lacked motivation. I killed my run. I did 50 sit-ups, ran my mile and a half in like 13:50. So it's not the fastest I've ran, but my push-ups is what got me. You know, I was supposed to do 18 minimum push-ups. I did 16 because, y'all, we wake up at 4:30 here. We go to sleep, you know, you're supposed to go to sleep at 10, but we thought that we was having a room inspection, so I'm staying up late doing room inspections, you know, trying to get my room together. So when it's time to go to PT that morning, you're still getting yelled at. It's so much stress. Like, it's so much stress, and I'm not used to taking a PT test when somebody's just staring at me or people are yelling at you prior to coming, or only working off of 3 hours of sleep. Literally 3 hours of sleep, like, and you know, you want me to push out push-ups. So without my push-ups, I made an 80 on the test, but if you failed the minimum components of your test, so I needed a minimum of 18. I think I need a minimum of, like, I don't know, just say 40 sit-ups, but I did 50, so I maxed that out. But my push-ups is what failed me. So that was pretty rough because I never failed a PT test ever in my life. I mean, I've always made 90s, and this one I just took in June, I made a 86 or 87. But even though the PT tests here at COT are just play or mock PT tests, and the one I officially have in the system says I am fit to fight, they don't care. They're like, you knew that you were supposed to be fit to fight when you come here, so blah blah. So they sent 10 people home. Well, when I say sent home, they sent them to their base. So, and then when they get ready, they'll come back, and then they'll go through COT all over again. Well, for the handful that they kept, which I was one of the handfuls, we were like literally, like, some people were like 1 push-up away or 5 seconds off or whatever the case may be. So here we are. We have to do a mock PT test next week, and on top of that, do 1 more test set in the 4th week of training. And I mean, I was upset about it because it's like you have to do extra PT. Like, you already don't have time to do anything. And sometimes we're working out twice a day. Like, literally, I work out with my squadron, and then that night I'm working out with them. And it's like, it cuts into your study time too, because it's just a lot. Like, and it's hot, so you got to come back to your room, change clothes, go back. Like, but I just got to the point, you know, I went to go get some advice from, like, you know, I got some advice from my flight commander and the chaplain, because I was just feeling like really in a bad spot. I was just like, I don't want to be here, and I don't understand why my motivation is just so down. And they told me something. They said, you know, my flight commander said something like preparation plus opportunity equals success. So did I really prep for the push-ups? I mean, my flight commander in North Carolina told me, you know, when I was taking my PT test in June, that I need to work on my form. I was like, okay, yes sir, I'll do that. Did I do it? No. And I should have. So it's like, I was mad at COT, you know, for making me do this, but it's not COT's fault, it's my fault. I should have been more prepared. Like, I can bust out a PT test, but I guess I was just so tired, and just all these excuses don't matter, because now I know I'm gonna pass this next one, because yeah, I know that y'all know that ain't even me. But I just want to share that story with y'all. Like, okay, even though you see all this success through my YouTube, I'm still human. Stuff still happens. I still get down and out. I lose motivation a lot. You know, I'm trying to work on changing my mind from positive to negative, and I'm human. So I want y'all to know, like, it's okay if you don't pass something on your first time. Like, bounce back up like I'm doing here. I'm not gonna give up, you know. So my motivation has gone up since last week. You know, the chaplain told me that if you feel comfortable, you're not growing. And he said if you're uncomfortable in a situation, then you're growing. COT is like a lab. They always call it the lab. I don't like the lab, but I know that, and I'm uncomfortable here in this lab, but I know I'm growing, and I know that when I leave this lab, I'm going to be a better leader and a better person. But my goal is to be a better leader. I want to learn how to lead, because I feel like COT is teaching you how to manage people, how to manage time. Also, week 1 you get to, you know, volunteer for jobs. I'm the public affairs officer, so I have to make like newsletters for the week. I have to, you know, get money for like, yeah, it's like a morale thing, but so it basically makes you, you know, each job has extra duties. So on top of that, you have academics. They do send you home for academics. We have our first test next week. I mean, I'm about to study in a second, but it's a lot of information. I heard if you don't do good, they send you home. And when I say home, I mean your home base, and then you have to come back. Okay, so you have academics, PT, extra duties if you have a job, such as like your PA officer, public affairs, or your dining in officer, stuff like that. So you have extra duties with that, plus just the stress of like being here. So far, like I said, I didn't want this video to be so long, but I just want to give y'all the real before it, you know, the last 2-3 weeks of being here. My mentality, like I said, has changed. I went from like not wanting to be here to, I mean, I still am ready to kind of like get on with my life, but I'm more like, okay, let me see what I can take from here. If I'm uncomfortable here, that means I'm growing. Maybe I'm growing to be a better follower, you know, because I'm so used to leading. You know, I'm so used to being in the front and just saying, this is how we're going to do it, or this is what I think. But sometimes you have to take a step back and say, you know what, maybe I'm here to like learn how to be a good follower. Maybe I'm here to like, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure all that out, like seeing what stages I'm growing from. So that's why I document all this stuff, to just like, so I can go back sometimes and say, okay, so when you were in COT, you was feeling like you didn't want to be here. But I do think the prior enlisted, you may have a rough time like mentally trying to deal with it. If you're like me, if you're not like me and you're just chilling, you just go through it, then cool. But like, I'm just letting y'all know my experience from prior enlisted to now becoming an officer. Like, I think they're really trying to change the way you think, you know. I will forever and always love the enlisted side, but I have to change certain things about how I'm, you know, I'm used to like having a flight chief or having someone like, in a sense, tell me this is where I need to go, this is where this is what I need to do. But I'm thinking here is like, they're giving us a freedom. Like right now, like we finally got privileges. Like the first week you had no privileges. Now the second week we can drink coffee. I only have one person in my room with me, so it's just a 2-person room. Now we can use our cars. We can't go off base, but we can use our car. We gotta have a wingman though. But they give you more freedom as if you're in tech school. Like, I don't know if you guys remember my tech school experience. It's kind of like that. If you're enlisted in your prior service, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you get a little bit more freedom in tech school versus basic training. So week 1 was probably like basic training. Week 2, kind of like getting into tech school. So I'm excited to see what week 2, what week 3 and 4 got to bring, because yeah, I'm about ready to decompress. But yeah, y'all, I will be back with another video for my last, I guess, 2.5 weeks of COT. If y'all have any questions, well, actually I'm posting this like later, so I hope y'all are enjoying it. I can give you guys more of the scoop of like procedures and stuff once I get done, but y'all keep praying for your girl, because you know it can get rough. Like, I'm tired right now. Like, sleep is like, is kind of like almost non-existent here. So yeah, but all right, y'all, talk to you later.